I walked into Maricopa County Superior Court at 9:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning. A hearing my son didn't know I'd be attending. The courtroom smelled like old wood and anxiety, that particular scent of legal proceedings that clings to everything. My heels clicked against marble floors as I made my way past rows of wooden benches. My son Darnell, 43, sat at the petitioner's table with his attorney Stuart Lipscomb, reviewing documents for the 10 a.m. guardianship hearing. The one where he planned to have me, his 68-year-old mother, declared mentally incompetent, without telling me. The bailiff's voice echoed through the space. All rise, the Honorable Judge Catherine Brennan presiding. I watched Darnell's hands stop mid-shuffle through his papers. He looked up and froze. I was standing in the back beside Howard Castellano, one of Phoenix's top elder law attorneys. I held a thick leather portfolio, 20 years of financial records proving I was anything but incompetent. The portfolio hit the respondent's table with a thud that made Rochelle, Darnell's wife, 39, gasp sharply from the gallery. She'd been sitting there with her hands folded, probably already planning what color to paint my living room after they sold my house. Judge Brennan looked at me over her reading glasses. "Are you Mrs. Vivian Sheffield?" "I am, Your Honor." "Please approach." Castellano walked beside me, placing an emergency appearance and motion to dismiss on the judge's bench. I could feel Darnell's eyes boring into the side of my face, but I didn't look at him. Not yet. Judge Brennan opened my portfolio. Her fingers traced across page after page. Utility bills paid on time for 20 years, investment portfolio statements, property tax records, a detailed spreadsheet tracking every dollar of my $847,000 retirement account. I'd created that spreadsheet myself using the same systems I'd taught for 30 years as a bank operations manager at Chase. Then she picked up one specific document. A home equity line of credit application from August 2023. $50,000 borrowed against my $1.2 million Arcadia home. Judge Brennan looked directly at Darnell. "Mr. Sheffield, according to your petition, your mother can't understand basic financial transactions. But I have a HELOC application here from August 2023. $50,000 borrowed against her property. The signature matches your mother's on file, but the handwriting analysis report she's submitted suggests otherwise." The courtroom went completely silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing. "Did you forge your mother's signature to steal $50,000 from her home equity?" Darnell's face drained of every ounce of color. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Your Honor, there must be..." Stuart Lipscomb leaned over, whispering urgently into Darnell's ear. Behind them, Rochelle gripped the bench in front of her so hard her knuckles went white. What Darnell didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that I'd spent 3 months recording every phone conversation he'd had with Rochelle on my landline extension, the one in my home office, the one they thought I'd forgotten how to use because I'm 68 and confused. 14 hours of recordings. Every word of them planning to sell my $1.2 million home within 90 days once the incompetency ruling came through. Every conversation about which budget memory care facility they'd dump me in while they split nearly $1 million. I had it all. Every single word. When your son tries to steal your home behind your back, subscribe to see justice. Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. Now, before I tell you what happened next in that courtroom, you need to understand something about me. I spent 30 years at Chase Bank, teaching people how to spot fraud. I trained tellers, reviewed loan applications, caught forgeries that looked perfect to everyone else. My son forgot that when you raise someone, you know their handwriting better than they do. He forgot I taught him everything he knows about contracts and money. That was his first mistake. Let me back up. 6 months earlier, May 2024, I was sitting at my kitchen table in my Arcadia neighborhood home, the house my late husband Gerard and I bought in 1990 for $180,000. It's It's worth $1.2 million now. Gerard died 5 years ago in 2019 from heart failure. He was 71. I was 63, and I just retired from Chase with my finances meticulously organized. $847,000 in retirement accounts. No debt except my mortgage. $180,000 remaining. I'd built that security through discipline, careful planning, and 3 decades of understanding exactly how money works. I have 2 children. Darnell, my son, is a commercial real estate agent. Or he was doing well until 2023 when he made some very bad investment decisions. Land deals near Casa Grande that he was convinced would make him rich. They didn't. He lost $340,000 when the market crashed. Then there's my daughter Jasmine, 39. She's always been the responsible one. Darnell married Rochelle 11 years ago, back in 2014. I liked her at first. She was charming, helped clear dishes after Sunday dinners, asked thoughtful questions about my banking career. She worked as a corporate event coordinator, but she lost that job in January 2023 and hasn't worked since. 18 months unemployed while Darnell bled money from bad investments. In March 2024, Darnell came to me desperate, sat at my kitchen table where I'm sitting now, and asked for $100,000. "Mom, I need help. Just this once. I'll pay you back." I looked at my son, the boy I'd taught to balance a checkbook at 12, and I said no. "I've loaned you money 4 times, Darnell. You paid me back once, partially. I love you, but I won't enable you to dig deeper." He left angry. Rochelle called me the next week. "You have $847,000 sitting in retirement accounts. Vivian, you can't possibly need all of it. Darnell is your son." "My retirement is mine," I told her. "I earned it. And if I've learned anything in 30 years of banking, it's that grown children who can't manage money don't suddenly learn by getting more of it." She hung up without saying goodbye. That's when things started getting strange. My mailbox looked tampered with. Mail arrived already opened sometimes, so I did what any former bank operations manager would do. I requested duplicate statements from my mortgage company, just a routine check. That's when I saw it. Home equity line of credit, $50,000, dated August 10th, 2023. An application with my signature. Except it wasn't my signature, it was close, very close. But the capital S in Sheffield had a loop I've never made. Someone had practiced my signature. Someone who'd watched me sign documents hundreds of times. Someone who had access to my mail. I didn't panic. I'd spent 3 decades investigating fraud at Chase. I knew exactly what to do. I called Phoenix Police Department and filed a fraud report. Then I called Howard Castellano, the elder law attorney my financial advisor, Mitchell Okonkwo, recommended. "Howard," I said, keeping my voice calm, "I think my son is planning something bigger than theft. I need your help." Meanwhile, Darnell's visits increased, twice a week instead of once a month, always with Rochelle. They'd walk through my house, photographing things, my pill organizer on the kitchen counter, my stove, my desk covered in financial documents. Rochelle would say things like, "You seem overwhelmed, Vivian. All these bills. Maybe it's time to let Darnell help manage things?" And I played along. I acted slightly confused. "Where did I put my reading glasses?" I'd say, even though they were on my head, because I deliberately put them there. "What day is my dentist appointment?" I'd ask, even though I knew it was written on my calendar in clear block letters. I was building my defense, and they thought they were building their case. Have you ever watched someone's entire world collapse just by you showing up? Have you ever seen the exact moment a person realizes they've been caught? That's what Thursday, November 15, 2024, felt like in that Phoenix courtroom. Back in the courtroom, Darnell stammered again. "Your Honor, I can explain." Judge Brennan held up her hand. "You'll have your chance, Mr. Sheffield. Right now, I'm going to listen to all of Mrs. Sheffield's evidence." Castellano didn't miss a beat. He placed a digital recorder on the respondent's table. "Your Honor, we have audio evidence." Rochelle stood up abruptly in the gallery. Her face went pale. Darnell turned to look at her, and I saw something shift in his expression. Panic, yes, but also confusion. Like he was realizing something he should have known all along. Judge Brennan leaned forward, her glasses reflecting the fluorescent courtroom lights. "Mr. Castellano, I'm going to allow that evidence. Play the recording." The courtroom went completely silent. No coughs. No shuffling papers, no whispers from the gallery, just the hum of the ventilation system and the sound of Castellano pressing play. A woman's voice filled the room, clear, confident. Rochelle's voice. "Once that judge signs off on Thursday, we list the house immediately. I already talked to 3 realtors, $1.2 million. We clear $900K after paying off her mortgage." Darnell's head snapped toward the gallery where Rochelle sat frozen. Then his own voice played. "What if she fights it?" Rochelle's laugh echoed through the courtroom speakers. Actually laughed. "Darnell, she won't even know until we're moving her stuff out. By the time she realizes what happened, she'll be in that facility on Indian School Road, and we'll have the money." I watched my son's face crumble. Watched him turn to his wife with an expression of complete betrayal, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just a cold, hard certainty that I'd done exactly what needed to be done. Judge Brennan paused the recording. "Mr. Sheffield, is that your voice on this recording?" Darnell didn't answer immediately. Stuart Lipscomb whispered something urgent. Rochelle sat frozen, her hands still gripping the bench. Finally, Darnell spoke, his voice shaking. "Your Honor, I can explain." "You'll have your chance," Judge Brennan interrupted. She nodded at Castellano. "Continue." But Castellano didn't continue the recording. Not yet. Instead, he pulled out bank statements and placed them on the judge's bench. "Your Honor, there's more." While Mr. Darnell Sheffield was forging his mother's signature for $50,000, his wife, Mrs. Meeg, Rochelle Sheffield, was writing unauthorized checks from Mrs. Sheffield's personal checking account. 8 checks over 6 months, $8,400 total. We have bank surveillance footage of Mrs. Rochelle Sheffield depositing these checks into an LLC account, Sheffield Property Management, that she and her husband own jointly. The courtroom erupted in gasps. Darnell turned fully toward Rochelle, his face a mixture of shock and horror. "You what?" he mouthed. She wouldn't look at him. Little did Darnell know, the embezzlement his wife had been committing behind his back was just the beginning. What came next would destroy not just his case, but his marriage, his relationship with his sister, and any chance he had of avoiding criminal charges. Judge Brennan set down the bank statements and looked directly at me. "Mrs. Brewer Sheffield, I'm going to give you an opportunity to present your full case. But first, I want to understand something. When did you discover your son was planning this?" I took a breath. My voice came out steady and clear, the voice of a woman who'd been preparing for this moment for 6 months. "Your Honor, I discovered the forged HELOC in August 2023. I discovered the guardianship plan in August 2024. And I've been recording their phone calls since August 12, 2024. Every single conversation they had on my landline, planning how fast they could sell my home the moment you signed that incompetency order." Judge Brennan's expression shifted. This wasn't a confused, forgetful woman standing in front of her. This was a woman who'd out-strategized her own son for over a year. "We're going to take a 15-minute recess," Judge Brennan announced. "When we return, I want to hear everything." But what the judge didn't know yet, what Darnell didn't know, was that my younger daughter, Jasmine, was sitting in the back of the courtroom right now, tears streaming down her face. Because 3 months ago, August 15, 2024, Darnell had called her at 11 p.m., drunk and crying, telling her he was doing something terrible but had no choice. And Jasmine had stayed silent. She'd never warned me. That secret was about to come out, too. Flashback to 1990. I was 33 years old, standing in the living room of a house in Phoenix's Arcadia neighborhood that my husband Gerard and I had just bought for $180,000. It was a stretch for us. Gerard worked as an aerospace engineer at Honeywell, and I'd just been promoted to operations supervisor at Chase Bank. But we wanted space for our family. Darnell was 8 years old then, born in 1982. Jasmine was 4, born in 1986. The house had 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a backyard with citrus trees that needed trimming, and enough room for the life we were building. Sunday dinners became sacred in that house. Every week without fail, my kitchen would fill with the smell of my grandmother's peach cobbler, the recipe she'd taught me when I was 16. I'd extend the dining table with the extra leaf, set out the good plates, and cook for hours. Pot roast, collard greens, cornbread that Gerard would eat half of before anyone else sat down. Those dinners were loud, messy, perfect. Darnell would talk about school, his basketball games, his friends. Jasmine would show me her drawings. Gerard would tell stories about work that made the kids laugh. Has someone you trusted ever stolen from you? Tell me in the comments. That was the life I thought we'd always have. The life I'd worked 30 years to build and protect. Darnell brought Rochelle home for the first time in 2013. He was 31, she was 27. I liked her immediately, or I thought I did. She was charming in a way that felt effortless. She asked thoughtful questions about my banking career, helped clear dishes without being asked, laughed at Gerard's terrible jokes. "You raised him right," she told me one Sunday after dinner. "He's nothing like the other guys I've dated." They married a year later in 2014. Small ceremony, mostly family. I loaned them $25,000 for the wedding. Darnell promised he'd pay me back within 2 years. He never did. Gerard died 5 years later, 2019, sudden heart failure at 71. One morning, he was drinking his coffee and reading the paper. By evening, he was gone. The grief hit me in waves I wasn't prepared for, but I had my finances in order. I'd retired from Chase at 63 after 30 years, and Gerard's life insurance combined with my pension and 401k meant I was secure. $847,000 in retirement accounts. The house was worth $1.2 million by then, with only $180,000 left on the mortgage. I'd built that security deliberately, carefully, using the same systems I'd taught at the bank for 3 decades. The first cracks appeared in 2022. Darnell's commercial real estate career had been solid, not spectacular, but steady. He made enough to support himself and Rochelle comfortably. Then he started talking about bigger opportunities at Sunday dinners, land deals in developing areas outside Phoenix, speculative investments near Casa Grande. "There's a major development coming," he'd say, eyes bright with certainty. "This is generational wealth, Mom." Gerard would have told him to be careful. I did tell him. "Commercial real estate is cyclical, Darnell. Don't over-leverage yourself." But Rochelle encouraged him. "You're too conservative," she'd say, looking at me like I was holding my son back. "Your mom and dad played it safe their whole lives. You don't have to do that. Sometimes you have to take risks to build real wealth." Let me take you back to May 2024. The afternoon I opened that envelope from my mortgage company. It was hot. Phoenix in May always is. And I just finished watering my roses in the backyard. The clock in my kitchen read 3:47 p.m. I remember because I'd planned to call Jasmine at 4 p.m. to wish her happy birthday. But when I saw that HELOC statement, everything stopped. Remember, Darnell Sheffield, my 43-year-old son, the one I just refused to loan $100,000 to, had lost $340,000 in real estate investments. And now someone had forged my signature for a $50,000 home equity line of credit. By 2023, Darnell had invested heavily in that Casa Grande land. He was convinced the development was imminent. It wasn't. The market crashed. He lost $340,000. I watched my son age 10 years in 6 months. The stress showed in his face, his voice, the way he'd avoid eye contact at Sunday dinners. Then came March 2024. He showed up at my house on a Tuesday afternoon without calling first, sat at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd had hundreds of family dinners, and asked for $100,000. "Mom, I need help. Just this once. I'll pay you back, I promise." I looked at my son, the boy I'd taught to balance a checkbook when he was 12, the man who should know better. "I've loaned you money 4 times, Darnell. 4 times. You've paid me back once, partially. I love you, but I won't enable you to dig deeper." His face hardened. "So that's it? I'm your son and you won't help me?" "I am helping you. I'm teaching you what I should have taught you 20 years ago. Actions have consequences." He left without saying goodbye. Rochelle called me 3 days later. Her voice was cold, clipped. "You have $847,000 sitting in retirement accounts, Vivian. You can't possibly need all of it. Darnell is your son. Family is supposed to help family." "My retirement is mine, Rochelle. I earned it. And if I've learned anything in 30 years of banking, it's that grown children who can't manage money don't suddenly learn by getting more of it." She hung up without another word. Over the years, I'd given Darnell plenty, more than plenty. I'd paid for his college at Arizona State, $68,000 total over 4 years. I'd loaned him $15,000 for his first car in 2005. He paid back $8,000 and stopped. I'd loaned him $25,000 for his wedding in 2014, never repaid. I'd covered $12,000 in credit card debt in 2018 when Rochelle lost her corporate event coordinator job the first time, never repaid. In total, I'd given or loaned Darnell over $120,000 since he turned 18. Jasmine, by contrast, had borrowed $10,000 once for a medical emergency in 2020 when her insurance denied coverage for a procedure. She paid me back within a year, with interest I hadn't asked for. When I refused Darnell's March 2024 request, I wasn't being cruel. I was setting a boundary I should have set decades ago. Gerard had tried to warn me. "You're not helping him, Viv," he'd said back in 2018 when I covered that credit card debt. "You're teaching him there are no consequences." But I dismissed it. I was his mother. Mothers help their children. That's what I told myself. That spring, April, May, June 2024, strange things started happening. My mailbox lock looked tampered with, the metal scratched in ways it hadn't been before. Mail arrived opened sometimes, the envelopes resealed, but not quite right. I noticed it, but didn't say anything. I just started paying closer attention. Then I requested duplicate statements from my mortgage company. Routine check, or so I told myself. But something felt wrong. That's when I saw it. Home equity line of credit, $50,000, dated August 10th, 2023. An application with my signature at the bottom, except it wasn't my signature. It was close, disturbingly close. But the capital S in Sheffield had a loop I've never made. My S's are sharp, angular. This one was rounded. Someone had practiced my signature, someone who'd seen me sign documents hundreds of times. Someone who had access to my mail, my home, my trust. What was I supposed to do? Call the police immediately and have my son arrested? Confront him and risk him destroying evidence or accelerating whatever plan he had? Or stay quiet, document everything, and wait for the perfect moment to reveal I knew? I chose the third option. Some people might call that cold. I call it strategic. I didn't panic. Panic is what amateurs do. I'd spent 3 decades investigating fraud at Chase Bank. I knew exactly what to do. First, I called Phoenix Police Department and filed a fraud report. Gave them the HELOC application, the handwriting samples, everything. They opened an investigation. Then I called Howard Castellano, an elder law attorney my financial advisor Mitchell Okonkwo had recommended years earlier when Gerard died. Howard specialized in protecting seniors from financial abuse, including abuse from family members. "Howard," I said, keeping my voice calm and measured, "I think my son is planning something bigger than just theft. I need your help building a case." "Tell me everything," he said. And I did. 3 weeks after I discovered the forged HELOC, June 2024, Darnell called asking to visit for just a check-in. I knew better. There's no such thing as just anything when someone's plotting against you. He arrived with Rochelle on a Saturday afternoon. They walked through my house slowly. Too slowly. Like they were cataloging inventory. Rochelle pulled out her phone constantly, claiming she was just texting. But I watched her. She wasn't texting. She was photographing. The pill organizer on my kitchen counter. 7 days, clearly labeled, perfectly organized. Click. The stack of mail on my desk, all opened, sorted, filed by category. Click. The whiteboard calendar in my study showing doctor appointments, book club meetings, church volunteer schedule. Click. She thought I didn't notice. I noticed everything. During coffee, Darnell mentioned he'd been reading about cognitive decline in women over 65, said it concerned him after I'd forgotten his birthday in July. I hadn't forgotten. I'd chosen not to acknowledge it. Hard to celebrate your son's birthday when you've just discovered he forged your signature to steal $50,000. Rochelle leaned forward, her voice dripping with false concern. You do seem overwhelmed lately, Vivian. All these bills, these accounts. Maybe it's time to let Darnell help manage things? She paused. We could set up power of attorney, just temporarily, to take the pressure off. I played my role perfectly. Where did I put my reading glasses? I asked, touching my face. They were on my head. I'd put them there deliberately 5 minutes earlier. What day is my dentist appointment again? I asked. Even though I knew it was Tuesday at 2 p.m., written in blue marker on my calendar. Rochelle and Darnell exchanged a look, the kind of look that said, "See, she's declining." After they left, I immediately called Howard Castellano, my elder law attorney. Howard, they're not trying to help me. They're building a case. They're documenting evidence of my incompetence. What do you want to do? He asked. I want to document them right back. I started recording my phone conversations. I placed a small digital recorder in my living room, hidden behind a photo frame of Gerard and me from our 25th anniversary. If they were going to document me, I'd document them documenting me. That night, my landline rang at 10:47 p.m. I didn't answer, let it go to the answering machine in my office. But I picked up the extension in my bedroom upstairs, muted my end, and listened. Darnell's voice came through clear. I got some good photos today. The pill thing, especially, makes her look disorganized even though it's not. Rochelle's voice, good. My friend's a paralegal. She says we need at least 3 documented incidents of confusion or unsafe behavior. We've got one. We need 2 more. I wrote down every word, dated it, timed it, added it to the file I was building. July 2024. I received my monthly checking account statement from Chase. I always reviewed every line. 30 years of banking habits don't just disappear. That's when I noticed checks I didn't remember writing. Check number 2847, July 3rd, pound $200 to Sheffield Property Management. Check Nully 2851, July 18th, 952 Sheffield Property Management. I didn't know any Sheffield Property Management. I certainly hadn't written these checks. Remember, Darnell Sheffield, my 43-year-old son, the commercial real estate agent who'd lost $340,000 and forged my signature for $50,000, had been visiting twice weekly with his wife, Rochelle. What I didn't know yet was that Rochelle, my son's wife, the former corporate event coordinator who'd been unemployed for 18 months, had been writing unauthorized checks from my account for 6 months. What Rochelle was hiding gets even darker. Subscribe so you don't miss it. If you're still not subscribing, tell me in the comments. What's holding you back? I drove to my Chase branch the next morning, the same branch where I'd worked for 15 years before transferring to regional operations. The branch manager, Carlos, had been my trainee back in 2008. I'd taught him everything about spotting fraud. Carlos, I said, placing the statement on his desk, I need you to pull the images of these deposited checks. He looked at the statement, then at me. Vivian, You think I know someone is. I need to see who. He pulled up the scanned images. The signatures looked like mine. Almost. But Carlos had processed thousands of my legitimate transactions over the years. He saw what I saw immediately. The slant is off, he said. This isn't your signature. No, it's not. Vivian, this is fraud. Textbook fraud. He printed copies, flagged the account, then pulled surveillance footage from the dates the checks were deposited. The footage showed Rochelle, alone, at the drive-thru, ATM, depositing checks into a business account. My stomach dropped. Carlos helped me pull 6 months of statements, 8 checks total, $8,400 stolen, all written during Rochelle's solo visits to check on me, visits that had started in April, right after Darnell's failed loan request in March. Does Darnell know? Carlos asked quietly. I don't know, I said, and I didn't. Either Darnell knew and they were conspiring together, or Rochelle was running her own scheme while using my son as cover. Either way, she'd been committing embezzlement for months, using their joint LLC as a laundering account. I made copies of everything, but I didn't close the account. I wanted Rochelle to feel safe, keep stealing, keep leaving evidence. That afternoon, I met with Howard Castellano and showed him the bank statements and surveillance footage. His expression was grim. Vivian, this is serious. If Darnell knows about this, they're conspiring to commit fraud. If he doesn't know, his wife is using him as a cover while robbing you blind. He paused. Either way, I think they're planning something bigger. The photos, the questions about power of attorney, now this embezzlement, they're preparing for something. I nodded slowly. A guardianship petition. Howard's eyes widened. You think they'd actually try to... I don't think, Howard. I need to find proof. I can't imagine what it feels like to have your child photograph your home looking for evidence you're incompetent, to have someone you birthed and raised walk through your house searching for proof you don't deserve your own independence. But I know what it felt like for me, like drowning while the person holding the life preserver watches and takes notes. August 2024. Darnell invited me to his house for dinner. First time in months. He was being unusually nice, which immediately made me suspicious. Rochelle cooked, badly. Overcooked chicken that tasted like cardboard, underseasoned vegetables. I ate it without complaint and complimented her cooking, played the grateful mother-in-law. During dinner, Darnell casually asked about my estate planning. Have you updated your will since Dad died? Yes, I said. I had, recently, with Howard's help. And you have everything organized. Like if something happened, someone knows where your documents are? My internal radar went off. Why was he asking this? Why now? After dinner, I excused myself to use the restroom. But I made a detour to Darnell's home office. The door was unlocked, unusual for him. He always kept it locked. I saw papers spread across his desk, legal documents, Arizona revised statutes on guardianship and conservatorship, sections highlighted in yellow marker, printouts from Google searches, how to file guardianship petition Maricopa County, evidence needed for incompetency declaration, memory care facilities Phoenix cost. Then I saw it. A handwritten note in Rochelle's distinctive print handwriting. 90 days max before sale closes. Indian School Road facility. $3,200 month. Medicaid pays rest. We keep the house proceeds. My hands started shaking. I pulled out my phone and photographed everything as fast as I could. Footsteps in the hallway, Rochelle. I quickly left the office, closed the door silently, and stepped into the bathroom, flushed the toilet. Washed my hands. When I emerged, Rochelle was standing in the hallway, arms crossed. Were you looking for something? Her tone was ice. I smiled sweetly. Just the bathroom, dear. My memory isn't what it used to be. Took me a minute to remember where you said it was. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't push. I left within 15 minutes, claiming fatigue. Would you have stayed silent like Vivian or confronted them immediately? Tell me in the comments. In my car, hands still trembling, I called Howard immediately, sent him the photos. Howard, they're planning to file a guardianship petition. They have facility costs researched, a timeline for selling my house, everything. His voice was urgent. We need to prepare a defense now. Cognitive evaluation from your doctor, financial capacity documentation, character witnesses. If they file and you're not ready, a judge could grant temporary guardianship before you even know about it. My voice came out steady, cold. Then we get ready, because if my son thinks he's going to take my home, my independence, my life, he's about to learn exactly who taught him everything he knows about strategy. You're probably wondering why I didn't just confront them the moment I found those guardianship drafts. Why I didn't call Darnell, throw the evidence in his face, demand to know what he was planning. Here's why. Confrontation gives them time to adapt. They'd destroy evidence, change tactics, maybe file faster. I needed them to feel safe. I needed them to keep planning, keep talking, keep leaving evidence. Because every word they said was being recorded. Remember, Rochelle Sheffield, my daughter-in-law, the one who'd been photographing my home and suggesting I seemed overwhelmed, had stolen $8,400 from my checking account using forged checks. And now I was standing in my son's office photographing a handwritten note in her writing that said 90 days max before sale closes. September 2nd, 2024, 8:30 a.m. My financial advisor, Mitchell Okonkwo, called. Vivian, my court monitoring system flagged something. There's a guardianship petition filed in Maricopa County Superior Court yesterday. Petitioner, Darnell Sheffield. Respondent, Vivian Sheffield. My heart stopped. They'd actually done it. Send me everything, I said. Mitchell emailed me the court filing PDF within minutes. Petition for appointment of guardian and conservator. I read through it with my coffee going cold beside me. 3 alleged incidents of incompetence. 1. Respondent left stove burner on high for approximately 2 hours on June 15, 2024, creating fire hazard. Lie. I checked my calendar. June 15th. I'd been at church for lunch and a volunteer meeting. I hadn't been home to use my stove. 1. Respondent forgot scheduled doctor's appointment on July 22, 2024, demonstrating memory impairment. Lie. The appointment had been canceled by the doctor's office due to an emergency. I had the confirmation email saved in my inbox. 1. Respondent unable to recall son's home address when asked, indicating cognitive decline. Lie. I could recite his address from memory. I'd chosen not to answer because his questioning felt intrusive and suspicious. Every single incident was fabricated. The petition requested emergency temporary guardianship with Darnell, appointed as guardian and conservator, giving him immediate control of my person, my property, and my finances. Court date, November 15, 2024, 10 p.m. But here's what made my blood run cold. Service of process had been sent to 4892 East Camelback Road, Phoenix, AZ 85018. That wasn't my current address. That was where I'd lived from 2010 to 2018 before buying my Arcadia home. Darnell knew my current address. He visited me there twice a week. This was deliberate. They'd sent service to an old address so I wouldn't receive notice of the hearing. By the time I found out through normal channels, the hearing would be over, and Darnell would have temporary control of everything. That afternoon, I sat in Howard Castellano's office while he read through the petition. They're trying to ambush you, he said. File the petition, dodge proper service, get a ruling before you even know there's a hearing. Does this happen often? I asked. More than you'd think in elder abuse cases. Adult children file, claim they couldn't locate their parent, and judges grant temporary orders. By the time the parent finds out, their bank accounts are frozen and they're locked out of their own homes. I felt my jaw tighten. Not to me, not ever. Howard smiled. The first time I'd seen him smile since this nightmare started. Good. Then here's what we're going to do. We're going to prepare the most airtight defense I've ever filed. Financial records going back 20 years, cognitive capacity evaluation from your doctor, character witnesses, handwriting analysis of that forged HELOC. And on November 15th, you're going to walk into that courtroom unannounced and watch your son's face when he realizes you knew everything. Looking back now, I can see exactly when Rochelle convinced Darnell this was the solution. It wasn't when he lost the $340,000. It wasn't even when I refused to loan him money. It was when she realized I wouldn't give them power of attorney voluntarily. That's when stealing became the only option. That's when they started building their case. On August 12, 2024, I started recording every single call on my landline extension. Not just listening, recording. 14 hours over the next 3 months. Every conversation Darnell and Rochelle had about selling my house. Every discussion about which facility to put me in. Every word about the timeline, the money, the plan. I had it all. And on November 15th at 9:47 a.m., I was going to walk into that courtroom and destroy them. The 15-minute recess felt like 15 hours. I stood in the hallway with Howard Castellano, watching Darnell pace near the water fountain, his attorney speaking urgently into his ear. Rochelle sat alone on a bench, staring at her phone like it held answers it couldn't possibly give. At 10:30 a.m., the bailiff called us back. Judge Brennan settled into her seat. "I'm ready to hear the rest of your evidence, Mr. Castellano." Howard stood. "Your Honor, Mrs. Sheffield has 14 hours of recorded phone conversations between her son and daughter-in-law, captured over 3 months on her home landline extension. The recordings demonstrate premeditated elder financial abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and detailed planning to liquidate Mrs. Sheffield's assets immediately upon receiving guardianship. With your permission, I'd like to play 7 excerpts, approximately 15 minutes total." Judge Brennan nodded. "Proceed." The recordings Vivian played next destroyed everything. Subscribe to hear them. If you're still not subscribing, tell me in the comments, what's holding you back? Howard pressed play, the courtroom filled with Rochelle's voice. Recording first, October 15, 2024. Rochelle's voice was cheerful, confident, like she was planning a vacation, not my destruction. "Once that judge signs off on Thursday, we list the house immediately. I already talked to 3 realtors, $1.2 million. We clear $900K after paying off her mortgage. She goes to that place on Indian School Road, $3,200 a month. Medicaid covers the rest. We're free in 90 days. Darnell's voice, hesitant. "What if she fights it?" Rochelle laughed. Actually laughed. "Darnell, she won't even know until we're moving her stuff out. By the time she realizes what happened, she'll be in that facility and we'll have the money to fix everything." I watched Darnell's face. He was hearing his own voice, his own words, his own plan, but somehow he looked shocked, like he'd forgotten what he'd agreed to. Recording October 5th, 2024. Darnell. "My attorney says we need at least 3 documented incidents of incompetence or unsafe behavior. We've got the pill photos. What else?" Rochelle. "Leave that to me. Next time I visit, I'll turn on her stove burner to high, photograph it, say she left it burning for hours. That's incident number 2. Pause. "She won't even know I did it. And I'll turn it on during one of her confused moments." The courtroom erupted in gasps. Judge Brennan banged her gavel once. Quiet. Recording 3, September 18th, 2024. Darnell. "I feel terrible about forging her signature, but we were desperate." Rochelle. "Stop feeling guilty. That money was always going to be yours eventually through inheritance. We just accelerated the timeline. Besides, she'll never figure it out. She's 68, not working anymore. She's not paying attention like she used to." I was paying attention, Rochelle. I was paying attention to everything. Recording for September 25th, 2024. This one was Rochelle talking to a realtor. Her voice was smooth, professional. Yes, it's a $1.2 million property in Arcadia. 4-bedroom, 3-bath, updated kitchen. We're expecting to list in early December once the legal paperwork clears. My mother-in-law is moving to assisted living. Her choice, of course. Her choice. My choice. I'd been listening to that recording in real time back in September, documenting the date and time while she lied to a stranger about selling my home. Recording 5, October 1st, 2024. Darnell expressing doubt. What if my sister finds out? Jasmine will never forgive me. Rochelle. Jasmine won't know until it's done. And by then, what can she do? Your mom will be settled, will have paid off our debts, and life goes on. Jasmine will get over it. She always does. I looked toward the back of the courtroom. Jasmine was sitting there, tears streaming down her face. Recording 6th, October 8th, 2024. Rochelle, your mom seems sharper than we've been telling your attorney. What if she fights this? Darnell, she won't. She loves us too much. She'll think we're doing what's best for her. That's how she's always been. Trusting, supportive. She won't believe we'd actually hurt her. He was right about one thing. I had been trusting. I had been supportive. For 43 years, I'd put my son first. And this is what it got me. Recording 7, November 12th, 2024, 3 days before court. Darnell. Court is Thursday at 10 a.m. Are you sure she doesn't know? Rochelle. Positive. The service went to her old address. She has no idea there's even a hearing. By noon Thursday, you'll have temporary guardianship. By Friday, we can start liquidating accounts. By next month, the house is listed. We're finally free. Darnell. The recording stopped. The courtroom was dead silent. Every eye was on Darnell and Rochelle. Darnell's face was ashen, his hands gripping the table edge. Rochelle stared straight ahead, expressionless, like a statue. Remember, Howard Castellano, my elder law attorney, the one I'd hired back in May 2024 after discovering the forged HELOC, had been preparing this defense for 3 months. And Darnell Sheffield, my 43-year-old son, the commercial real estate agent who'd lost $340,000, was hearing his own recorded voice for the first time in a courtroom. The hallway outside Courtroom 4C was eerily quiet after we left. No dramatic music, no cameras, no celebration. Just the sound of my heels on marble floor and the weight of what I'd just done, destroyed my son's case and possibly his freedom. I'd won. But winning felt like drowning in victory. But Howard wasn't finished. He placed new documents on the judge's bench. Your Honor, there's one more piece of evidence Mrs. Sheffield's son doesn't know about yet. Darnell looked up, confused. While Mr. Darnell Sheffield was forging his mother's signature for $50,000 and planning this guardianship petition, his wife, Mrs. Rochelle Sheffield, was conducting her own separate scheme. Over 6 months, she wrote 8 unauthorized checks from Mrs. Sheffield's checking account, totaling $8,400, made payable to Sheffield Property Management, the LLC she and her husband owned jointly. We have bank surveillance footage. Howard played the video on the courtroom monitor. Security camera footage from Chase Bank. Timestamps visible. 4 different dates. Each clip showed Rochelle, alone, at the drive-through ATM, depositing checks. Darnell's head whipped toward Rochelle. His voice broke. You what? Judge Brennan addressed Rochelle directly. Mrs. Sheffield, did you write and deposit checks from your mother-in-law's account without authorization? Rochelle's lips pressed into a thin line, finally, barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. Did your husband know? No. Darnell stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You've been stealing from my mother? Behind my back? While telling me we needed the guardianship to help her? His voice cracked. How long, Rochelle? How long have you been stealing from her? Judge Brennan's voice was sharp. Mr. Sheffield, sit down. He sat, but his eyes never left Rochelle. She wouldn't look at him. She lied. Rochelle lied to Darnell about the checks. She lied to me about wanting to help. She lied to the attorney about my supposed incompetence. She lied to realtors about me choosing assisted living. Every word out of her mouth for 6 months had been a calculated lie, and my son believed every single one. "Your Honor," Howard said, "there's one more witness. Mrs. Sheffield's daughter, Jasmine Sheffield, age 39. Jasmine walked to the witness stand. Tears were already streaming. She wouldn't look at me. Howard's voice was gentle. "Ms. Sheffield, 3 months ago, did you receive a phone call from your brother Darnell?" Jasmine nodded, voice barely audible. "Yes, August 15th, around 11 p.m. "What was his state?" "He was drunk, crying." "What did he say?" Jasmine's voice broke. He said he was doing something terrible to Mom, that Rochelle convinced him it was the only way out of their debt, that he felt sick about it but didn't know what else to do. She paused, sobbing. "He asked me not to tell Mom because it would ruin the plan and they'd lose everything." "What did you do?" "I begged him not to do it. I told him Mom would never forgive him. But I didn't." Her voice cracked completely. "I didn't tell Mom. I thought if I stayed out of it, maybe it would just go away. Maybe Darnell would change his mind. I was afraid if I told Mom, the whole family would explode. So I chose peace. I chose silence." She turned to me, tears running down her face. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. I almost cost you everything." I didn't speak. I just nodded once. That was all I could manage. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Howard Castellano's office, signing paperwork authorizing him to work with the Arizona Attorney General's office. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. But inside, I kept replaying Darnell's face when he heard those recordings, the moment he realized his wife had been lying to him just as much as she'd been lying to me. Judge Brennan removed her glasses. "Mr. Sheffield, did you know your wife was embezzling from your mother?" Darnell's voice was hollow. "No, Your Honor. I swear I didn't know about the checks." "And Mrs. Sheffield," Judge Brennan looked at Rochelle, "did you know about your husband's guardianship petition before he filed it?" Rochelle's answer was barely above a whisper. "I'm the one who suggested it." The courtroom erupted. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. "Order." I stood without being asked. My voice came out steady, clear, the voice I'd spent 6 months preparing. "Your Honor, my son is $340,000 in debt. In March 2024, he came to me asking for $100,000. I said no, not because I don't have the money, I do, but because I've bailed him out 4 times before. 4 times. He's never learned. So when I said no, he decided to take what I wouldn't give. He forged my signature. He filed a petition to declare me incompetent based on lies. He planned to sell my home within 90 days and put me in a budget facility while he kept nearly $1 million. I turned to look at Darnell. "But what breaks my heart, Darnell, is that you didn't even know your wife was stealing from me separately. You didn't know she'd written $8,400 in fraudulent checks while pushing you to file guardianship to cover her crimes. She manipulated you, used your desperation, and you let her." Darnell broke. "Mom, I didn't know about the checks, I swear. I'm so sorry, I was desperate. We were going to lose everything." I cut him off. "But you knew about forging my signature. You knew about lying to a judge. You knew about fabricating evidence of my incompetence. You knew about planning to sell my home. That's enough, Darnell. That's more than enough." Judge Brennan set down her pen. "I've heard enough. This petition is dismissed with prejudice, meaning Mr. Sheffield may never refile. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the Arizona Attorney General's Office for Criminal Investigation. Mr. Sheffield, you're being investigated for forgery, fraud, and guardianship abuse. Mrs. Rochelle Sheffield, you're being investigated for embezzlement and elder financial abuse." She looked at me. "Mrs. Sheffield, you are clearly of sound mind and financial capacity. Your son and daughter-in-law attempted to exploit the guardianship system designed to protect vulnerable adults. I'm sorry you had to experience this. Thank you, Your Honor. The bailiff called the next case. Darnell sat frozen at the petitioner's table. Rochelle stood immediately, walking toward the exit. She didn't look at anyone. Darnell called after her. "Rochelle, wait!" She didn't stop. In the hallway, Jasmine approached me. "Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I'm ashamed. I prioritized comfort over protecting you." My response was measured. "We'll talk, Jasmine, but not today." 48 hours after that courtroom confrontation, my phone rang. Arizona Attorney General's office, Prosecutor Patricia Navarro. "Mrs. Sheffield, we have 2 separate criminal investigations underway. Guardianship abuse against your son Darnell, embezzlement and elder financial abuse against your daughter-in-law Rochelle. Both cases are strong, but I need to know. What outcome do you want?" My hands were steady as I held the phone. "Give me 72 hours to decide." Could you forgive a family member who knew but stayed silent? Tell me in the comments. During those 72 hours, Darnell called 17 times. I didn't answer. He sent texts. "Mom, please, I need to explain." I didn't respond. What was there to explain? I'd heard everything on those recordings. Every lie, every plan. Every moment he chose Rochelle's manipulation over the mother who'd raised him. Rochelle hired criminal defense attorney Thomas Chen within 24 hours of the court hearing. She wasn't wasting time. 2 days after the hearing, Jasmine showed up at my house. She brought flowers, daisies my favorite, and a handwritten letter. We sat on my patio, the afternoon sun making everything feel too bright for the conversation we were about to have. She cried. "Mom, I don't know if you can forgive me. For 3 months I knew what Darnell was planning, and I stayed silent because I thought if I just didn't get involved, somehow it would work itself out. I told myself you were strong enough to handle whatever came. But the truth is, I was a coward. I chose comfort over protecting you." I listened. Let her finish. Then I spoke. My voice calm but firm. "You knew for 3 months, Jasmine. 3 months. Every day I was recording evidence, building my defense, preparing for battle. You could have warned me with one phone call, and you chose silence." "I know," she whispered. "I'm ashamed." "You should be." Would you prosecute your son or just his wife? Subscribe and tell me. If you're still not subscribing, tell me in the comments. What's holding you back? 1 week later, I sat in a conference room with Prosecutor Navarro and Howard Castellano. Time to decide. "Full prosecution for Rochelle," I said. "Embezzlement, elder financial abuse, fraud. The evidence is airtight. 8 forged checks, bank surveillance footage, recorded admissions on tape. She manipulated my son while stealing from me behind his back. I want the maximum penalty." Navarro nodded, writing notes. "For Darnell." I paused. This was harder. "I'm offering an alternative to criminal prosecution." Howard looked at me. We discussed this option. He knew what was coming. He repays the forged $50,000 at $2,000 per month for 25 months. He attends mandatory financial counseling through a court-approved program. He divorces Rochelle within 6 months, and he has 0 contact with me unless I initiate it. If he violates any term, fraud charges proceed immediately. He has 48 hours to accept. "And if he refuses?" Navarro asked. "Then prosecute him fully. Forgery, fraud, guardianship abuse, all of it." Remember, Darnell Sheffield, my son, the one who'd forged my signature and filed guardianship papers, had accepted my terms within 48 hours. And Rochelle Sheffield, my former daughter-in-law, the one who'd stolen $8,400 while manipulating him, was facing 18 months in prison. How do you choose between protecting yourself and protecting your child from himself? How do you draw a line that says, "I love you, but I will not let you destroy me"? I wrestled with that question for 72 hours before making my decision, and I'd make the same choice again. Darnell accepted via his attorney at 11:30 p.m. on day 2. A text came through to my phone an hour later. "Mom, I'll accept your terms. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, you were right. I never learned. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. First payment will be on time. D." I read it once, saved it, didn't respond. Rochelle's case moved forward. She pleaded guilty to avoid trial. Smart move on her attorney's part. The evidence was overwhelming. December 15th, 2024, sentencing day. I sat in the gallery and watched. 18 months incarceration, 5 years probation, restitution of $8,400 plus $15,000 in damages and legal fees. As the bailiff escorted her out, Rochelle turned to look at me one last time. "You destroyed my marriage," she said, her voice bitter. I met her eyes. My response was calm, measured. "No, Rochelle. You did that when you started stealing from me while manipulating my son into committing fraud against me." She looked away, and that was the last time I ever saw her. Here's what nobody tells you about setting boundaries with family. It doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels like grief. Because you're mourning the relationship you thought you had while protecting yourself from the relationship that actually exists. You're mourning the son you raised while holding accountable the man he became. 3 months later, March 2024, an envelope arrived in my mail. Handwritten address, Darnell's handwriting. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Inside was a letter and a photograph and a certificate. The certificate showed he'd completed financial counseling. The photograph showed a studio apartment in Tempe, sparse, clean, humble. The letter explained everything. He was working 2 jobs, commercial real estate during the day, night security guard at an office building from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. He'd sold his car, bought a used Honda Civic, moved from his house to that studio apartment. The divorce from Rochelle had been finalized in February. 12 payments made on time. $24,000 of the $50,000 repaid. "No expectations, Mom," the letter read. "I just want to apologize face to face and show you I'm changing." I didn't respond immediately. I placed the letter in the folder with all the court documents. Evidence of everything. The fraud, the recordings, the trial, and now this. Evidence of consequence. Evidence of maybe redemption. 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet. Coffee shop in Scottsdale. Neutral territory. Darnell arrived 15 minutes early. When I walked in, there was already a chai latte waiting at the table. Extra foam, my favorite. He remembered. He didn't make excuses when I sat down. "Mom, I blamed desperation. I blamed Rochelle. I blamed the debt. But the truth is, I felt entitled to your money. Like because I was your son, it was already mine. Rochelle saw that weakness and exploited it. But I made the choice to forge your signature. I made the choice to file that petition. You taught me better. I forgot everything." I listened, sipped my latte, let him talk. When he finished, I asked one question. "If you hadn't been caught, if I hadn't shown up in that courtroom, would you have gone through with selling my house?" His eyes filled with tears. "Honestly, I don't know. I want to say no. But I was so far gone, Mom. I might have. And that terrifies me. Thank you for telling the truth. I didn't offer reconciliation, but I didn't close the door either. Keep making your payments. Keep working on yourself. When you've repaid everything, we'll talk again." He nodded. "That's fair." Remember, Darnell, my 43-year-old son, the one I'd refused to prosecute criminally, had been making payments faithfully for 6 months. And Jasmine, my younger daughter, the one who'd stayed silent for 3 months, was slowly rebuilding the trust she'd broken. I think about that courtroom moment sometimes, watching my son realize his wife had been lying to him while manipulating him into committing crimes against me. Part of me felt vindicated, Part of me felt heartbroken, because I raised him better than that. Somewhere along the way, he forgot I taught him everything he knows. Before this nightmare, I believed family loyalty meant tolerating anything. I'd loaned Darnell money 4 times, covered his debts, enabled his poor decisions because that's what mothers do. Gerard used to warn me, "You're not helping him, Viv. You're teaching him there are no consequences." But I'd dismissed it, prioritized peace over boundaries, saw myself as Darnell and Jasmine's mom before I saw myself as Vivian Sheffield. But I learned something at 68 that I wish I'd known at 40. Real love requires boundaries. Protecting abusers isn't love, it's enabling destruction. Family doesn't entitle anyone to your dignity, your independence, or your assets. Now I introduce myself as Vivian Sheffield, retired bank operations manager and elder advocacy educator, not Darnell's mom. My identity is my own. I teach financial literacy workshops at my church now. I serve on the board of the Phoenix Elder Abuse Prevention Coalition. I use my story publicly, with permission from the Attorney General's office, to warn other seniors about the signs of family financial abuse. 6 months after that courtroom, I'd helped 47 women identify warning signs, assisted 12 in filing protective orders, testified as expert witness in 3 guardianship cases. My boundary with Darnell isn't cruelty, it's consequence. I gave him a path to redemption. Whether he takes it is his choice. If this moved you, share it with someone facing family betrayal. If you're still not subscribing, tell me in the comments, what's holding you back? 9 months after that courtroom confrontation, September 2024. I'm 68 years old. I'm sitting on my Arcadia patio with iced tea, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. My home is still mine. $1.2 million, mortgage paid off completely using planned retirement distributions. My portfolio is at $863,000, grew with the market recovery. Darnell has made 18 of 25 payments on time, $36,000 repaid, $14,000 remaining. We've had coffee 3 more times. The relationship isn't repaired, but it isn't destroyed either. It's something new, something honest, built on consequence and accountability instead of enabling and denial. Jasmine visits weekly now. She rebuilt trust slowly, showing up, being honest, never making excuses. She's co-trustee of my estate, helps coordinate my financial literacy workshops. I updated my will. Everything goes to Jasmine and charity. The Phoenix Elder Abuse Prevention Coalition gets a $100,000 bequest. Darnell receives $1, the legal minimum, proof he wasn't forgotten, just excluded. Rochelle was released from incarceration in June 2024, moved to California. Restraining order remains active. No contact. I don't regret my choices. The hardest boundary I ever set became the one that freed me. It's September 2024 now. I'm 68 years old. I'm sitting on my Arcadia patio, the same patio where I used to host Sunday dinners, where I watered my roses the afternoon I discovered that forged HELOC, where I sat with Jasmine after the trial and told her we'd talk, but not today. This house is still mine. $1.2 million. The house Darnell and Rochelle plan to sell within 90 days. Mortgage paid off completely. My retirement portfolio sits at $863,000. I'm healthy, active, independent, everything they claimed I wasn't. Every Thursday morning, I teach financial literacy workshops at Camelback Community Church. The class is called Protecting Yourself from Family Financial Abuse. Between 35 and 50 women attend every week. I've helped over 200 Phoenix area seniors recognize the warning signs. The phone calls about money, the pressure to sign power of attorney, the subtle suggestions that you're confused or overwhelmed, the photographs of your home that you weren't supposed to notice. Darnell, my son, now 43, has made 23 of 25 payments, $46,000 repaid, $4,000 remaining. He works commercial real estate during the day and part-time security at night. lives in that studio apartment in Tempe, divorced from Rochelle. We meet for coffee once a month now. The relationship isn't healed, but it's evolving. We're building something new on top of the ruins. Progress, not perfection. Rochelle completed her 18-month sentence, moved to San Diego, California. The restraining order remains active. I don't think about her much anymore. Jasmine, my daughter, now 39, visits every week, fully reconciled. She's co-trustee of my estate, helps coordinate my workshops. She rebuilt trust the only way trust can be rebuilt, through consistent action, not words, showing up, being honest, never making excuses. I learned something at 68 that I wish I'd known at 40. The hardest boundary you ever set might be the one that saves you. Real love doesn't mean tolerating everything. It means respecting yourself enough to demand respect. Family doesn't entitle anyone to your dignity, your home, or your independence. For 68 years, I believe being a good mother meant sacrifice without limit. Gerard used to tell me I was enabling Darnell, not helping him. I didn't listen. It took my son trying to steal my home for me to understand. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. If I could tell other women one thing, it's this: document everything. Trust your instincts. You're not paranoid for protecting what you've earned. And if your own children try to take it, remember, you taught them everything they know. They forgot you're smarter. I'm sipping iced tea now, made from my grandmother's recipe. The house is quiet, mine, safe. I don't regret the recordings, the courtroom confrontation, the choice to prosecute Rochelle while giving Darnell a path to redemption. I regret it was necessary, but I've made peace with it. The boundary I set, the one that felt cruel at the time, became the foundation for my freedom. I saved myself, and maybe, just maybe, I saved my son too. If your daughter stayed silent while your son planned to steal your home, could you forgive her? How long would it take? Tell me in the comments. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. Drop your country flag and location in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. And if you're still not subscribed, seriously, what's stopping you? Your feedback means a lot and helps me improve every story.